Welcome everybody to our first Global Industry Group event. And this is a very important event for us. We have a great crowd, people that specialize in human resources and recruitment. And I wanted to thank everybody for showing up here today. Again, this is the first of at least probably like 10 global industry events that we're going to have in the next couple of months to highlight the up and coming leaders in our organization that basically we're rooting for them to be successful. They're leaders, are proving it. And that's why we chose them to lead this initiative. And with that being said, I'm going to pass the baton to Gian Piero Ragonesi. Gian Piero has been an associate in our team for a couple of years. And he's doing great. He's going to tell you guys what he does for a living, but most importantly, he's let's root for him. We are here for him and for the associates and the apprentices that are here. So, without further ado, Gian Piero, welcome.
Thank you, Hernan. Yeah, like I said, pleasure to meet you all. I think we were talking a little bit about it before, but basically, I believe the idea here is for us to get to know a little bit about what we do. I can introduce myself a little bit and then go one by one to see exactly how you guys are doing on the market, how's everything in your areas that you're managing, go into a few questions that I've prepared for ourselves so that we can all discuss ideas that can help us continue to improve or succeed and make, the best of our services to our clients. I'll start with myself particularly. I'm based out of Peru. I manage the operations for G4 Global Partners with this consulting management firm out of Miami. That's where our HQs are there. We have offices throughout different countries, specializing in Latin America. I oversee what's Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador. I have a team of 6 people now that help me with the recruitment and everything. Big differences about G4 Global Partners compared to other companies within the market. We made a boutique search for most of the companies that I work for. We're not industry oriented, but oversee most of them, and don't use kind of like databases or CRMs to oversee everything with proactive interviews, but analyze each one of the opportunities as a project and understand how it goes and make the scratch and search from zero, which is something that's been quite successful on the client side. Overall, through the past few months, we've seen a trend of working with companies in the agribusiness area. We've worked with a lot of technology within those companies, mostly commercial people. I think it's the hardest and the most specialized nowadays that companies are looking for people who know how to sell when nobody wants to buy. Right, and start working on those particular projects. We've seen a lot of movement in companies in the financial market as well, where we support them with everything from wealth managers and private bankers to corporate finance, and going through a lot of the AR side as well when it comes to billing and collections, which has been a big problem in South America for the past few months, especially because of the pandemic, right? That's what I do. That's what we offer as G4. I've been doing this for the past 3 years. I started at Ascendo Resources, a firm out of Miami, where I was working in the accounting and finance team. So that's where I specialized for a little bit. And then after a year there, my MBA, my visa expired. So we had to go look for more opportunities. This came around and here we are. We've been doing it for a year and a half now, building a really solid team. COVID's been good to us in the side that we've been actually able to grow, identify opportunities in companies that have required the needs that we can offer them. And we're doing a really, really good job. So I'd love to hear about what you guys are doing, how the past scenario has been going through. I'll go by order as you guys appear on my screen. So Richard, you were telling us about a little bit about yourself and what you're doing. But for everybody who's going to listen to this, how's the last few months and how's it going?
So the last year, I think everybody's really been in transition because of the pandemic. Prior to last year, I was doing recruiting, hiring, and training in hospitality, and I started with Food Network, and then I went to more of like luxury hospitality company that was managing spa, fitness, front desk for Marriott, and I pivoted So, it's fitting that this is how to land a job, because that's what I had to do at the beginning of this year. And using training and development background and what I knew about recruiting, that helped me gain that footing where I was able to jump into something rather quickly in a unprecedented time, so to speak. So that's how it's been going.
Gian Piero, you're on mute. So you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, my bad. I was asking, so Richard, in the past few months, you changed, a new focus on your business. How's the market reacted to what you're offering? How's the receiving of these new services that you're providing to them? Do you see growth there? Do you see the opportunity to continue it and grow? How's it going?
Well, I didn't create my own company. I partnered and I'm working with the California Department of Public Health to provide them training and development for people who do case investigation and contact tracing for the coronavirus. So, it's not a business. We're here to provide a service. So, for me, it's been a pivot that right now it's in a place where, as we continue to see cases, we're there to provide that help, and that, where we can provide them opportunities for mental health, which is much needed, opportunities for them to connect, opportunities for them to thrive and with practice. And a lot of the skill sets that we were teaching people in hospitality is now being utilized in the public health space, because we are sometimes the first to respond, because we let them know what to do, how to do it, whether it's isolation, quarantine. This very different from what I was doing a year ago, interviewing people, teaching them how to get a job. Now I'm actually providing work exclusion and release letters, and sometimes talking to their employers about getting them back to work. So a very different time for me, for sure. But a lot of the things we'll be talking about today in terms of finding a job, it's something that's fresh in my mind.
Beautiful. Thank you, Richard. Let's go over to you, Lisa. So I know you're now on your own, doing it big. So tell us a little bit about how's it going. I think you're in mute, Lisa, too.
Everything was going pretty well until, like everything else, March hit. And I worked for a retained firm in New York for a very long time. And I gave her a call. I decided to try and do two things at once, because Miami is a very small market, and she had a plan to do some restructuring with the very large institutions in New York that were going to need restructuring, because there was this book. You guys are a little young. Hernan, do you remember Who Moved My Cheese? Yes, right. You got to go. What's the next move? And I think all these companies are going to need restructuring in banks. They're going to all fall apart, and they're going to need people to come in and help them with the restructuring. So we came in. We tried to find them bankruptcy lawyers and people who were going to do some restructuring. So that kept me busy for a little while. And now I'm back on my own, working with her on a few things. I don't know how this is all going to still work out. Everything's still a little shaky. I have to get back into my own mute. And I always kind of had like a Stockholm syndrome with this woman anyway. She took me on when I was a kid. I still like working with the New York retained C-suite positions. I'd love to get back into that. I try to get back into that. I do it sometimes because I like to kind of partner with a company. I think most people do on the recruiting side, just partner with a company and help them build up. Is that going to happen again? I don't foresee it. I don't know. And I like to network a lot. That's not happening. And I'm not a fan of the virtual networking. I don't think it's the same. if anyone else does, then I don't really get it. Maybe you can explain it to me. So it's been a wild roller coaster. But you just gotta, as you said, Richard, you just have to pivot, and you can't just stay where you are. You have to go where you have to go where the business is. You have to move around, but you got to create the story. You just got to take it day to day. Um, that's basically it. That's how it's been going for me.
Awesome, Lisa. Thank you. Yeah, and I do believe we all hope those partnerships that we can create with companies come back. They start investing, they start growing, they start doing new things quicker, and the whole thing, restarts as we were all used to, and those old wine and dine happy hours come back, which are so much fun. Especially in Miami, I used to go with those two. Yeah, and Hernan's a fan too. I do hope those come back sooner rather than later. Tanja, I didn't believe we had the chance to know too much about your experience. Are you in HR and recruitment as well? Yes. No. Okay, I'll ask Michelle then. Michelle, let's go with you then. So, how's the last few months for you? Tell us a bit about your business and how it's going, so we can hear and get to know a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. So, Michelle Bryan, I've been in HR recruiting, headhunting for the last 17 years. I do have other companies that I oversee as well and that I own, particularly with HR and staffing. I'm in a very niche industry. I now focus, I came from finance and accounting and a legal background. I now focus in working with general contractors in providing a team for large investors to fix and flip. Still same concept in regards to hiring. Now it's more mass production, making sure, I guess, per property is like a job site or client. I've been doing that for about 4 years now. It definitely did have an effect, even though we were an essential business. A lot of people weren't either obviously not purchasing or investing in properties. However, now we're starting to get back into the flow of things. So just really now utilizing more of the going back to basics of assisting people how to do the resumes, more on the professional side, doing these type of networking events, with Hernan and stuff, assisting students. So just really just coming more on the consulting side aspect of it to provide that type of service versus the direct recruitment.
Perfect, Michelle. Thank you. And just out of curiosity, where are you based out of yourself?
I'm in Miami.
You're in Miami too.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. That's good. At least there's a little bit out of the market, and property is also moving. That leads to a lot of jobs and a lot of opportunities out there. So that's good news as well. What about yourself, Yvette? What can you tell us about how's going at Robert Half? I've always had somewhere in my heart, not in a good place, because I've always heard that we were competitors when I was at Ascendo.
You got
Everybody at
it.
Ascendo where it's Robert Half. So yeah.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the industry has seen that, like any other business out there, we've seen the ups and the downs. We, at the beginning of all of this, here at Robert Half, we saw a lot of businesses and a lot of companies take a big hit, and definitely closing their doors. And a lot of, again, we have the candidate side where we had a lot of the, candidates obviously in fear of going out to work, and now little by little, as the time has passed, there's, again, and as we say, and we don't like to say, the new normal has kind of settled in, and we have companies again reopening, we have companies moving along and starting to hire and starting to expand once again, and I think the focus has been a lot in how we train our candidates, and we change the mindset and to adapt in this whole virtual world that's happening right now, where not everyone is used to. So we're doing our coaching. It's taking a lot of, how to get prepared for those virtual interviews and so forth. But definitely has been a change in the market.
So, what exactly do you specialize in at Robert Half? Are you in a particular
So,
industry? Temp to
yeah,
perm? What
I'm
exactly?
actually on the temp world. I actually overlooked the accounting division, and now I'm overlooking the office team division, which specializes on anything administrative. So that's again right now my current status of that.
Beautiful. So I'll move into a question about, maybe getting a little bit of reality push. Maybe we can start with you, Richard. I know you in the recruitment side and HR side, you were working a lot with hospitality. How do you see this coming back? Is there light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to it's coming to what used to be normal? Is the recruitment going to come up because, people and hotels and all these companies aligning with it let a lot of people go, and they're going to have to hire back? They're going to optimize the way that they did it. Instead of having 5 people, they're going to find one more senior to oversee that particular area. What do you see in the foresight there?
The thing is that this pandemic really kind of changes the landscape of what hospitality and how it's being delivered. I mean, you cannot see cruise lines the same way. It's going to take a long time for that to recover. Going to a buffet may not happen for a while. You're not going to see karaoke bars doing well. You're going to see a lot of places that were very popular, and we're going to have to shift the way that we do those things. It doesn't mean that karaoke is not going to exist anymore. We'll never have a buffet. It's just not going to be in the same way. And I don't think it's going to be about staffing extra people or more people to do the job. It's just about doing the job different. And right now, I think what's important is a lot of people need to learn how to diversify themselves on their resume in order to get a job, because before you had different types of opportunities, and we were already virtual in a sense, but now, they're going to have time to go through these resumes. They don't have to go commute to the office. They don't, there's this expectation that recruiters have to do more now because they don't have the opportunity to go into an office or do those types of things. So recruiters actually are going through the resumes with a little bit more time. That's what I see. And I think that for hospitality, people that are trying to get in, they're going to have to diversify themselves to really kind of showcase their skills better. And for the market,
Let me
in
pinpoint
general,
on that, Richard.
wow.
Exactly as you mentioned, people are going to have to diversify themselves to make an outstanding impression, make themselves, seen between themselves and the other candidates that they might be competing against. And that's where I wanted this conversation to go forward to give a coaching to everybody that might want to participate. So you mentioned people within the hospitality industry, and there maybe that's where you can guide us, are going to have to be diversified within skills. What do you think are those skills, or could you pinpoint a couple that come to mind that they can, made an underline in their resume, speak about that particular thing that could be something that companies within the hospitality industry might be looking for?
So what's changed right now is that a lot of companies are deciding to go virtual or to do more work from home. So it's, you speak to the times, and the times right now are saying that there may be more opportunities for people to do customer service. So having that phone experience before wasn't as important as it is now, but new tools, Slack, MS Teams, Google Meet, all of those platforms that everyone's using right now, you want people who have had experience doing that, because every opportunity that they have to train something new is going to take time. So they're already using Zoom, MS Teams, Google Meet, Slack right now to communicate with family and friends, but it's a missed opportunity not to write that in your resume, because that's how we're communicating with business now for the next.
I believe specializing in using those tools to create something, if they can add value, if it was sales, if it was, optimizing the process of hearing back from the client and their experience through these particular platforms, all the things, I believe it could be really, really good. Correct?
I don't see a resume that doesn't say the word Zoom on it. So, we've changed the way that we communicate, and we know that the interview is going to be conducted possibly on Zoom, on Meet, on MS Teams. So having them already have that on their resume, it goes to show that there's not an extra step to tell you how to do the interview or what to do. You show that you're competent from the beginning.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. And I do want to highlight, guys, if there's any questions that you might have about whoever is particularly speaking at the time, just go ahead and do that. Lisa, you were speaking to us a little bit about before that you were mostly doing some, private bankers, wealth management. How's that particular industry been hit lately? And if you are, doing different sectors and different industries, what do you think is going to be happening within the next few months where we can focus efforts as recruiters that we are and maybe get some clients right there,
Well, I think I was doing a wealth management and they were just looking to add people and, they pay them, basically on commission, basically. So they have nothing to win or lose. It's not really and those searches are the same. They've been going on for years. So they're either looking to add and, so that industry hasn't changed. That's just.
Are people there more willing to change from one company to another through this COVID, or are there more, concerned that their book is not going to follow them from going from a Marion
No,
Lynch to a
I don't
tier
think
two?
so.
Or
A book is a book. I mean, it's just, it's how big it is, who your clients are. It's private banking. You have a book, it's 50 million, 75 million. Will your clients go with you from one place to the other? They always lie. They always say yes, and then it's out of my hands. I did the best I could, but it's just. I mean, I think the next thing is restructuring. All of these companies are going to be in trouble. The hospitalities, the hotels, they're all going to be in huge trouble, and they're all going to need people to get them out of a mess. Whether it's, some of the banks are going to be in trouble. The hospitality industry this is going to take decades to come back. Almost every industry has been hit hard. And I saw something in the Wall Street Journal the other day. This is not a 6 month to a year, we're going to come back strong next quarter, by next year. This is going to be a long recovery. And yes, the stock market's going up, whatever, blah, 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 and this is going to take a long time to build back. And I think that the restructuring, if you can get one of these clients, look places like, Richard might know, as he said, there are going to be different ways about hiring people. It's going to happen in management. It's going to happen with banks. And they're going to have to figure out, do they want to hire their credit people to fix up the mess because people are defaulting on their mortgages and people are doing this and that? Things are a mess everywhere. So people are going to need bankruptcy lawyers, because that's going to happen too. Things are not good out there. And so I think restructuring, I think there's going to be a huge amount going on starting next quarter. I think 2020 is just about written off. I think everyone just wants it to be over. And I think next quarter, restructuring is going to be the industry to be in, across the board. I think the only industry that's pretty level right now is IT. And I have found that the top people in IT have lost their jobs because, and I'm talking about the top people, like the EVP level, they have lost their jobs because they have just figured out that all 100 people who work, who report to them, are all perfectly fine on their own and doing well. And they can cut that $500,000 salary and they're doing just fine. And they can.
That is optimizing companies. Completely agree with you.
They can clean house. So, but I think, as far as, I have one client that, and I don't know that much about IT, but I can fake it really well. There's a program or code or whatever you want to call it. It's called PL SQL. Nobody can do it in the United States that doesn't need a green card, or papers. And those are the people that you need. There's the real code geeks out there. They're the ones who are going to be able to get jobs. And they're $100,000, $125,000 jobs.
Got Gotcha, Lisa. Well, I do hope that we can identify these companies are going to be doing the restructuring that you mentioned, and help them, oversee exactly where their pains are, where they can focus, and we can provide solutions based on candidates. Do you have any advice on how to identify those companies, for example?
Um, well, the cruise lines are common sense. The airlines now, how much money they got from the government is to be determined. I think that's why everyone's sort of waiting for the dust to settle. Um, what was lost in the hotel industry? And the normal way to do this would be to hire a place like Lazard or Evercore and bring in the really talented people to say, look, this is what your finances are. These are your people. This is what you, but they don't want to spend that type of money. They don't want to hire the advisory firm because it costs them too much.
We used to always argue about bringing ex Big Four consultants when it came to the accounting and finance side.
Exactly. They don't want
Maybe
to.
that could be a solution where you can not bring somebody employed by those big firms, but they used to be employed by those big firms, and now the charge
Exactly.
is different because you
Right.
don't have that particular thing, right? So
Exactly. They should bring in someone from like a McKinsey, or that they should hire McKinsey to fix the problem, but they won't do that because it costs too much money.
God.
They want they
Well, that's why we're here to convince them and see exactly how we can
Well,
be of assistance.
I don't want them to hire McKinsey. I want them to hire certain people with credentials.
Oh, but exactly. Well, I do have the experience that when they go through advisement from companies such as McKinsey's, things like that, they do tell them they do have to make changes, and then how to make them. They can get the advice from McKinsey themselves, or they just do them, and McKinsey helps them on the final interviews and things like that. But when they do get the advisement, it already tells you they're willing to change. They understand that there's have to be, changes made because we are in a situation that is critical for the company, and that leads to opportunity. So maybe that's a way for you guys to understand that companies are going to change. The fact, if you ask them if they're being advised by somebody with regards to the situation, tells you they're going to have to make changes. So stay close and continue with the opportunity to go there. I believe that could be something of a lead for us to identify new clients in this industry. I'll move to Yvette. So you can tell us, you're in the office administrative part of offices and everything else. So there's reactivation of the market. Things are coming back. How do you see the next few months playing out, with regards of your particular recruitment? And what are those skill sets that you believe that the people in the industry that you work for right now can, underline in their resumes or talk about in their interviews that can help them land a position right now?
Absolutely. So I would say, as I mentioned before, just again, and just to piggyback on Richard's point, definitely putting those skills such as the MS Teams, Zoom, customer service, phone, those have become major skills right now. Especially, we have a lot of companies seeking customer service in the administrative end. Again, from all aspects, from coordination, from collections sometimes, and again, customer service, data entry. Those are main skills that, again, if you are in the administrative field, you want to put those in your resume. Those are highly in demand skills.
For the upcoming year, what's your forecast here? How are companies going to, start hiring again? And how can people be prepared for this?
Definitely. So what I'm seeing is last quarter, and again, as Lisa was saying, there's going to be a lot of restructuring. There's going to be a lot of planning for budgets, and I see it already where everyone's starting to kind of give us a wish list of coming up. What they want to see. Coming in already. They have their plans going. So we are seeing an expansion. We are seeing companies that are moving and definitely wanting to hire right now.
That's great. That's a great sign. There's somewhere to start. So I'll go through the same questions with you, Michelle. I know you have a different approach to the whole market, and you do a particular set of projects that you were telling us on the property side. But what's the forecast here? You told us there's a little bit of reactivation. You see it happening. What can we all be prepared for? How can we be present in that area, and what can we tell to future candidates that, you might, work with?
I mean, yeah, definitely it's going to, we did have a little bit of a hiccup because of a lot of our general labor and light industrial were on unemployment. So they would rather that than actually go into the workforce. But it also is going to hurt them as well because of them denying some of the jobs. But it's definitely, I mean, real estate and any type of pandemic, it's an economic crisis always, changes. And I think people are more prepared than they were in 2008. So it's going to be a big boost in just as far as projects and a lot of people, new investors and companies. Our end user clients are a lot of the banks. So on the REO and foreclosure side. So I don't see a huge spike until about March when everything, is going to become as far as the foreclosures and things of that nature of having to pay. So as far as the mortgages and stuff, and then the foreclosures, and then that's when the investment cycle starts. So.
Perfect. And I know Tanya wanted us to answer this particular question, and maybe we can start with you, Michelle, as you were finishing there. You are more on the operation side, maybe a little bit on the more massive recruitment, as you were telling us. How do we become outstanding through Indeed and all these platforms where there's going to be millions of people? What are those keywords that we need to have in our resumes that we can go ahead and highlight so that we can be seen by future employers? Sorry.
So I do a lot of virtual recruiting just for internal. As I mentioned, I have a couple of other companies, so everything is now 100% virtual, but I believe all the recruiters here can attest to this. I always recommend with candidates that depending on whatever job that they're applying for, that they look at that particular job description and or a few of those within there and have those buzzwords on their resume if they do have the experience. Because as all of us know, we go through resumes so quickly, depending on the space, obviously, if you're more in the C-suites, it's a little bit different. But you're going through resumes, and because the fact that you can't just come into the office and now everything's virtual, a lot of the times it is the phone skills that Richard mentioned. Actually knowing how to answer the questions, being able to project that through the phone, which is a little bit different than when you actually were face-to-face interview, the body language and what we could, prep you on, making sure that you're attending the Zoom meetings. Obviously I'm a bad example right now, but in proper, professional clothing, and so forth. I'm sorry.
Wear your best tie, your best shirt, and your best shorts. That's what I call it.
Exactly. So, doing all of that, but definitely with the Indeed or any type of, when you have your resume, you are going to want to have those buzzwords. And I always recommend to my candidates, pick out a few different job descriptions and what you want, because someone can say business developer, but they don't know what industry specific. And then you talk about those particular things. And that's what we can find and look for, while going rather quickly. I mean, I probably skim through resumes in 3 to 5, maybe even 30 seconds to 45 seconds. If I cannot find it, then I move on to the next ones, especially that right now a lot of people are unemployed.
Perfect. Excellent, Michelle. I think that's key. I've always been taught that those I believe it's 5 P's, right? Proper preparation prevents poor performance. And it was something super simple that we were taught. If you are keen on looking for a particular position on a set company or a particular position on a set industry, looking into job descriptions and jobs posted on different, media sites can help you structure your resume to what exactly they're looking for and modify it to show the skills that they are looking for. And I've always done this coaching to my candidates when I work with them, so that we can show and highlight to the future employer what exactly they're looking for on the first 3-4 things of each one of the resumes. Do it with them. If they don't see it, tell them to do it for them. My idea here is I'm going to help both my employer and you to get together and understand that you do have that experience that they're looking for, I'm just going to find a way to do that, particularly on the best way scenario, or on the best case scenario. I do want to ask you guys about where we are moving forward when it comes to set interviews. I believe most of us have done interviews because we're in the recruitment business. Maybe a lot of people are going to see us, have not yet gone through an interview for a position. Maybe they've interviewed people for their teams. We talked about, attire, but what else can we do? Maybe we can start with you, Richard, when it comes to, be outstanding on a Zoom interview.
I think it's important to have a plan of what you're going to say, what you're going to do beforehand. So you also have things in writing. If you don't have a good background, get a virtual background. The beautiful thing is you can be from wherever you are, and also you can also create your own environment. So there's the opportunity that you can look as professional as possible without having to spend much money. So taking advantage of the times that we're in to really kind of beef up your background, what you're wearing. There's so many different things that you can do, but the best thing is to also be prepared. Just that I think that you could look a certain part, but if you say the right things at the right time, you might reconsider somebody that has a little bit longer hair or didn't dress as good. So I think you can definitely be able to be your best self, and you can create your own environment. So it's an amazing time for someone who's trying to look the part.
And what are those questions, Richard? Maybe that's something we can give all the listeners eventually, that they can do to employers that maybe you didn't used to do before the new Zoom and Google Meets era, that they can do to these employees to seem more interested and go deeper on the conversation.
I mean, and obviously for the rest of the group as well. I mean, I think what's happening now is that the things that we thought we really didn't care too much on the resume, we're starting to redefine what we think is good communication, because we've turned this whole thing on its head in terms of, I really now look at somebody who says I have good phone skills, and I can test that, and we can see that if you have good video conferencing skills. But before, they used to put it, and I would kind of write that off. But now I look if they have detail, and they say what experience they have on the phone, what experience they have in video conferencing. That will go a longer way. Post-pandemic, we didn't even need video conferencing in some areas of hospitality, but now it's a necessity. So I tell people that less is more on the resume, but have things that are quality, that make sense. There's great resources out there. 1tonline.org. You can essentially put the job description and title, and they will tell you in the industry what are the best keywords and phrases, what is trending. The resources of what you can use right now is amazing. So it's leverage what you got, and don't, especially during these times where we're so disconnected. It's not, I would say, don't worry too much about overextending communication. Connect with them online, connect with them on the forums. If you have the ability to connect with them on LinkedIn, connect with them on LinkedIn. Apply to their site and whatever site that you found it on. I mean, I think that when there's this huge disconnection with people in general, take advantage and over communicate in order to make an impression, because other people will.
Perfect, Richard. Thank you. Thank you so much. I do believe that's really important for us to help our candidates with use the tools that we have at our disposal to prepare ourselves to make a good impression.
Don't sleep on Excel. Excel is your best friend. Write down all the places where you're applying to, keep a good track, see when you reach out to them again. When I was looking, when I had to pivot, I didn't get a hit until 248.
That's the magic number.
That's the magic number. So I tell people all the time, like, just keep a good track and don't get discouraged, you know?
Yeah, and I'm pivoting here on what Hernan is saying, but finding job is a job, and I've told this to my candidates. If they had any commercial skills, now they got to go sell themselves, and that's the approach that you got to have when it comes to these things. I do want to have take an opportunity to say hello to Maria. She just joined in us, and she could tell us maybe a little bit about herself too here, so we can all be familiar with her and understand what she specializes in and what she does. Hi, Maria.
Hello. So can you hear me? I just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
So I work for the VA, the Department of Veterans Affairs in the government. So pretty much all our jobs, if you are interested in any government position, is in usajobs.gov. Now, our hiring process is totally opposite of the private sector. So what they teach you in school and like one-page resume and all these great things that you learn in school, yes, that doesn't apply to the government. If you're applying for a position within, it could be the Army, Department of Defense, or any of our positions within usajobs.gov, you better focus your resume on what you're applying for. So if it's an administrative officer position, when you're looking through the application, it tells you what the duties are. It tells you what the functions of the job, what it entails, where it's going to be, if you qualify or not, what you need to have to qualify, and what you need to submit for me to review it. So if it's a resume, cover letter, and certain forms, if you're missing anything and you're not paying attention, unfortunately, we won't even consider you. If I don't have all the documentation that I need, I'll pass along. And one-page resume, you probably will not make the cut, because we need to know absolutely every job that you have ever had that qualifies you for an administrative officer. And just like that, the interview portion, what Richard was referring to, it is important. Now, our jobs are mainly just telephone, so they don't have the ability to see you. So you're taking away, I guess, a little bit of like the personality. They can't see you, they can only hear you. So it is important to answer the questions precisely and just try to do your best. The questions are all tailored to the job. So if you read the announcement and take a minute to kind of understand what the VA stands for, the mission and the vision, then you'll be fine.
Perfect, Maria. So it's a lot more customized for each one of the positions. There's a lot more due diligence on the candidate side, as we can all tell. I do believe this is something that we're trending on, coming from the government side to the private side, optimizing the selection process where companies are asking for more details so they can go through not wasting their time with candidates that apply to positions and don't have the skill set, or don't show the skills or take the time to make themselves noticeable by the rest of the people involved. So I do believe that's where we're trending to go, and us recruiters are going to have to adapt to make key selections on candidates. There's a lot of companies that nowadays work through platforms where we as recruiters submit candidates to their platforms by always coaching them and doing all these new things. So it's all about adaptability. It's all about us moving forward and having the communication skills not only present once we start talking to them, but doing the due diligence to communicate throughout our resumes what we can do and what we can potentially bring to the table to those companies. Lisa, I do want to ask you something about networking. I know you're not a fan of doing this through digital sites, and you miss the whole face-to-face. I myself do it too. What do you think are those things that are missing, and how can we improve them, knowing that we don't have another choice right now, right? Knowing that this is what we have to do, what can we do better?
That's a great question. Because I'm older than all of you, so and I am definitely a face-to-face person. I had to. One of my clients is a new HR person, And I had to talk about first of all, it seemed like she was hiring me to see if I was okay with the same client I've been dealing with for 2 years. And I didn't appreciate that too much, but so I had to do a Zoom with her. And I am definitely a face-to-face person. I do better. I articulate better, and so I just sit down for 15 minutes, get the camera all right, and just sort of practice what I was going to say because I didn't want to screw up. Um, I don't. That's just. I don't know what we can do better yet. I think there has to be sort of an evolution here where people just have to learn how to deal with it. I think some people are better at it than others. Some people prefer it. I know some people prefer it. They've told me they would rather do Zoom. They like working from home. They like interviewing people from home, and they like.
Well, on my side, I can tell you this much, Lisa. I don't focus anymore on doing the recruitment. I'm more on the BD side. I do the commercial side, and we've gone through 12 to 15 meetings with clients on a week where you had to commute to their offices and get to know them, to an average of 30 nowadays, where you hang up the phone, you get to the next one, you go straight to the point. What are your needs? How are we doing? If you've met them before, if you have to go through the elevator pitch, you do that quickly as well. But people are having this variety of moving from one thing to another that is quicker, and that helps you out on I believe on the sales side, right, where your numbers can go up. And we've all been on the recruitment side when it comes to the BDs. It's the number game, right? You got to identify where their clients are hiring, where they are, and make it quick and effective, and that side is good. Now, connecting with candidates where you can build trustworthy relationships, where they're going to tell you who they're interviewing with and what they're expecting on their next salary, give you leads about the market, and having that connection might be more difficult. And I believe that's what the challenge is. If we're going strictly about not networking on a passive way, but networking for business quickly, where you have to see either candidates or clients, I believe it's more on the candidate side where we have an issue. I'll move to ask Michelle, how do you believe that the same question, when we are nowadays recruiting, where we're nowadays dealing with connecting with people in different ways, what can we do better? What can we focus on these conversations where we can, be outstanding? I think you.
Okay. As far as the networking aspect of it, I mean, definitely it's better in person, based on like what you were saying. But I've been able to adapt to this and meet more people now, and be able to not, the whole drive time and so forth. So, and being able to get on more of these calls, also like mastermind calls. I do a lot of those now, where it is where that you are, or doing things like this. We had when we did the Apprentice Worldwide, probably people that wouldn't be able to go to the actual, and there were other countries, you're able to now to meet them. So for me, I prefer it. Now I do get stir crazy because you're at home all day and you're not able to go out there. And I do miss, mingling and going to different, I'm a big believer in supporting the small businesses. So I know that that's affected a lot of them and going to the local restaurants and stuff. But so I don't know if that kind of answered your question as far as with the networking.
Yeah, it does. And then we can do a follow-up questions about something that Anand key pointed here in the conversation is, what are the things that people are doing wrong, when introducing themselves, not only to recruiters that we all are, but to companies and potential employers?
I think, again, I believe Richard was the one that, making sure that you're prepared and knowing, a lot of times, especially if this is new, like I'm very camera shy. I can actually be in front of an audience, but when it comes to a Zoom call, I don't know why, I'm a little bit more nervous. But making sure that they're prepared, they've done their research. I think a lot of times people still just don't, or candidates still don't do that. You have so much at your fingertips, social media, LinkedIn, actually learning who you can I mean, and a lot of you that have been in here 10 plus years before all this, we would have to go through the gatekeeper, through the administrative assistant to be able to get to them. Now you can go on social media and find the hiring manager and who posted it. It's not good for us recruiters, but as far as for the candidates, so they could do their research. And 9 times out of 10, a HR manager probably has a Facebook page. So kind of just knowing more or less, again, on the professional side, but knowing your audience and who you're speaking to, maybe what school, the college they went to, and so forth. So I think a lot of candidates don't do that. There were many times that I have a conversation and they directly applied for a position and they don't know what they applied for. And it's like, oh, I don't know what company or what I applied for. Keep it in an Excel spreadsheet. Knowing what position you applied for is very important.
Yeah, I believe we've all been there, a lot. Things are changing a lot. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it went viral for at least a couple of weeks before. There was a lady, I don't know exactly where she was from, but she was an ex cheerleader at Clemson, if I'm not wrong, that got hired through a TikTok video that she did for a marketing position at a company. It was super, super famous. It went completely viral. They're taking away a little bit of our jobs by doing TikToks and getting hired through there. But yes, there's adaptability. There's new ways of approaching people. It's things that are changing, that we can always suggest. I'm pretty sure the government's not going to hire through TikTok, Maria, anytime soon. But we can always stay close to the candidates, give them the advice that they need, help them understand about who they're going to be working for, who they're going to be interviewing with. What Michelle says is really, really interesting. People don't do that due diligence. We can still do that with them and for them to help them out understand and be more prepared to land that position, especially those candidates are our candidates and we're going to be benefited from doing it as well. That's one of the main things that I loved about what we do, is that we help ourselves by helping people. And that's something that is really, really cool. So Ynette,
I think the flip side of that, is also for new candidates and people that are applying for jobs, please watch what you put out on social media, because us as HR, as recruiters, I mean, our job when I was in the field, what we made money if we placed you. But I've had many times the HR manager say, well, have you, looked at their Facebook page? They're out partying and putting all these crazy things. I don't want somebody like that to represent my company. So on the other side of it, keep it very, very private, or if you're going to be doing Snapchat and all of that, make sure it does not trace your actual name, because that can hinder you from actually getting the interview and or the job.
Yeah, been there, suffer that as well. We've all. Yeah, I mean, I think there's another few hours of us sharing stories with candidates and everything that we've gone through in the past, particularly at the, entry level roles where we had to coach things to candidates that we might have thought they were obvious at one particular point, but it basically weren't. And what we've been speaking through the times right now, what are those things that we can, add to what Richard has said, with what Lisa has said and Michelle has said about giving them advice on how they can, be more seen, have a better impression, do more due diligence. Is there anything else you might want to add to, what you do with your candidates nowadays and how you help them prepare?
So, to begin with, like you said, part of our job is the coaching, and I take that very seriously myself, where again, when from day one, even before they go into an interview, I provide them with a link of the company. I encourage them to look at the company. Obviously, an employer wants to make sure that you do due diligences, that you did your homework, and you have interest enough to look at the company, what they do. And obviously it's an icebreaker. And when you say, well, yes, I went online and I looked at the company. I know what you do. I know what, the size of the company. That's definitely something that I do with all my candidates. Also in this whole new virtual world, I do a lot of tests of the interview. So prior to their interview, one of the issues that they've had a lot is the technology, and they have issues once the interview opens up in Zoom, they don't have audio. So that's one thing, the extra step that I go all the time with all my candidates, where I say, okay, an hour before, let's go ahead and do a test run, where, I send them a Zoom link, and we get on the Zoom video. prior to the interview to make sure that they're all set. So again, this minimizes the anxiety of the interview. You know, they feel more confident. So again, that's the tool. The more tools I can give the candidate to feel more comfortable once they go into the interview, the better.
Perfect.
I want
Yes,
to add
Richard.
something really quick. Sometimes people, they go online and they kind of learn about the background of the recruiter, so they can build rapport. I think that's a good tactic, but I think that to keep in mind that in an interview, and that's once you get to the point of the interview, is that you want to think about trying to make the recruiter comfortable more than anything else, right? So when you go into that and you let them know, hey, I know the challenges that you're going through. You know, I've done my research. These are the current events, how it's affecting your company. And then you tell them how you can be part of that solution. I mean, you've pretty much given yourself the job if you can present and frame it that way, and then also present the solution. And you can't show up as a know-it-all, but if you're inquisitive, if you're, you know, making an effort to do all of those things, I think a recruiter would highly encourage that conversation, correct you where needed, but it would show so much more enthusiasm than somebody who just, you know, may have just Googled the company and see what the company did. There's a big difference there.
Proactive.
Perfect. Yes, of course. And I'll go back to Maria. What do you do to highlight yourselves on a government process of selection? Once you already did all the due diligence and you get to the interview process, what can you tell anybody that might hear us in the future that might want to apply to any positions posted by you guys? What can you tell them that will help them throughout the process?
Well, the interviews are all job related, the ones that you're going to get. So just definitely be familiar with the job. Be familiar with your resume too, because sometimes you have a 10 pages resume and they'll ask you a question because, you know, we have the resumes way before you. And then I've seen people where they go back and forth trying to remember what was it that they put in their resume. And then, you know, I have seen people that say they do something and during the interview they can't support it. So just be truthful. If you put something on your resume, just make sure it is something that you're familiar with and that you can defend during the interview. Because unfortunately, you know, those things happen. I get applications, when I look through it, I'm like, you don't qualify. So just make sure to read, and during the interview process, you get questions. They're called performance-based questions. So they're gonna ask you things like, have you ever had an instance where an angry customer or a veteran, you know, came to you with an issue that you couldn't handle, and you know, how did you approach it? What did you do? What were your steps? So just different scenarios of how you handle things under pressure, how you handle things with your coworkers. And so coming to an interview would be good to do sort of like a mock interview with someone else and get some interview questions out there. I'm sure you can find plenty if you look enough, and kind of just be prepared. The questions that you study, or you know, in everything that you do might be something else. Just kind of be prepared to answer the question one at a time. Don't rush through them. That's my main advice, because sometimes you forget to answer the question and you just go on attending. So if you need the person to repeat the question, if you need to write it down, and just kind of like make sure you did answer the question correctly. And once you leave that interview, you'll feel comfortable with that.
Perfect. Perfect, Maria. Thank you so much for your intel. So I'll go on to closing statements. I believe the best idea for us is to maybe get advice about what we've spoken, the ideas that we've all communicated, maybe do a little summary about what we believe could be good to tell everybody that might be hearing us. I'll start with you, Richard. You were the one that has given us a lot of new ideas as well here. So what are the main key points? Stay focused on those to tell to our candidates, and maybe we'll go one by one.
I mean, we cover so many topics, but I think that in these times, I think that they should, if you're looking to land a job, continue applying. You know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. There's so many people right now that are hurting, that are looking for jobs. So taking the advice that many of us have given you in terms of being ready for an opportunity is big. You know, you do have plenty of time, so use that time wisely. Have a good organization system of how you're applying, who you're applying with, who you spoke to, keeping good tally of those things, and do your research. You know, there's so many tools at your disposal in this day and age that you can basically research the company, the people that are a part of it, what are the current challenges, the news articles. So everyone's living online. Take advantage of that. You know, you have your recruiters are all in one place at home. So email them, you know, reach out. I think that it's underutilized right now. People, they're, for some reason, everybody's hustling, but they're not utilizing the resources that they have. So.
Perfect. Thank you, Richard. Lisa, what's the ending summary? What we can tell all the people that are going to listen to us? What can they do to make sure they stay communicated with you and they get their chances to land a job?
Well, I think everyone's pretty much covered things on the job front, but I try and tell people to keep themselves occupied. And because I think a lot of people out there that I talk to anyway are very depressed and just a little shaken up. And they do sit in front of a computer all day and just apply on LinkedIn, and Indeed and Monsters or whatever else they can find. And yes, they do have this long sheet and they're getting rejected. And then they just stop and they start playing their Xbox or whatever they do, whatever the boys do, and start paying attention to CNN or Fox or whichever one they want to watch. And it's just take a walk. I mean, I'm a very and people have to look on the bright side, get out, do something else, and keep your mental health. And then something will come along. And just because I think that's what's consuming people the most. And things will get better. Things are going to pick up, and you have to be very proactive. And I think you have to get on the phone too. Stay off. But I'm a little old school like that. You know, if you see the hiring manager, call the hiring manager. They get too many emails. They see too many things coming through. They look at it for 2 seconds and they say nope, and next. And
old school is the best school. You know, your thank you letters, your phone calls, things are never going to
if I
get
wanted a
old.
job as a recruiter at X company, I would not send my resume through Indeed. I would call whoever's in charge and tell them about myself. And if they say no, they say no. But I have a better shot at getting in touch that way. So
I'm a firm believer that is the right way. Correct. Maria, that might be a little bit more difficult with dealing with the government and finding the hiring manager out there. But what can you tell the viewers about applying there? What are your recommendations as find the final remarks of this conversation, and how can we help them land positions there?
Well, it's not impossible. I'm gonna tell you that because some people have called me and been so, persistent, and they have been so nice that I can give out the name of the hiring manager and I'll be like, look, you don't qualify for this one because A, B, and C, but you may qualify for this. And here's a name, send the resume in. We have some non-competitively hires where you don't have to go through an announcement at all. We can just grab your resume and hire you, but you have to talk to the right person. And in every job, at the bottom of the job, there is a HR point of contact. So if you're looking for a position, you can start calling different HR people and see who gives you the opportunity to get you the email of the selecting official, and you can do it that way. One thing I did wanted to mention was your resume is never good enough. So it's always to keep improving, keep trying to add. That's something that I learned a long time ago. I'm always trying to make it better and keep applying like they advise. because you might not get it the first time, but I think the second or the third time, some people took 2-3 years to get into the government, but now they're retiring and the benefits are great. So just keep applying and just keep trying and keep improving your resume, because it might be that it's just missing the main points, the key words, and that's why you're not getting forward. You're muted.
My bad. Michelle, we'll go over through you. We've covered a lot of the things that we believe are, standard advice that we can give most of the people. Anything else you might want to add on your summary to the candidates that might be coming to you, going directly to employers, calling them? What can you tell us there?
One of the things that I would say is that your network is your net worth. Something that obviously this video is going to be for everyone that's in apprentice. Utilize your network. Hernan has built this. We have over 700 members, I believe. You probably could attest to that. I am sure there is one person or another, or a few within the industry that you're focusing in that you want to be in. So we have many success stories that people have gotten hired through utilizing this internal network, or even just giving the guidance. They may know somebody that works there that knows the hiring manager. Another thing is don't be afraid of recruiters. One of the things as third-party recruiters, they're there to help you. Our job is to guide you and coach you. And I don't know if the industry is still like that, but I know a lot of times they were afraid of us. Like, we're here to help you. We make money if you succeed. So we have the best interest for that. So, that's what I could say.
Can I just say something about that? People think that you get blown off by recruiters. We get paid if we place you. No one's blowing anybody off.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's something that we sometimes need to make clear to everybody when it comes to this. It's about the honesty. It's my reputation, because I'm speaking about you to a client. If you say something that is not true, then I look bad, you look bad. We're not going to work together. You're not going to land the job, and everybody loses. If you win, I win. And it's always going to be that way. So I believe that's something really good that you come up with, Michelle, to tell everybody. Recruiters are there to help you. And they're there to help you land a job, land an opportunity, highlight your skill sets, help the employer see those in you. And we're always going to be benefited. I believe every party is benefited, both the employer, because he landed a great candidate, the candidate has done a great job, and myself, because I helped two people get connected, and I made a little money on the side too. So I think we're all good with that side as well. So, Yvette, what are your final remarks about everything that we've spoken?
Definitely, great point, Michelle. Again, I think one of the biggest thing is building the rapport with the recruiter, staying top of mind. I mean, we see thousands of resumes, we speak to thousands of people, but those that really stick are those that follow up. And obviously, use your common sense and follow up every single day, but do follow up. Stay top of mind. I pride myself on not only building great relationships with our companies, but with our candidates, and it's a great feeling, that when they call back, as managers themselves, wanting to hire them someone else, so again, it's a whole revolving door. But like Michelle said, don't be afraid to follow up. Don't be afraid to build that rapport with your recruiter. That's definitely one of the best advices.
Beautiful, Thank you so much. Well, overall, I want to thank everybody who participated on this. If there's any other final remarks that you might want to ask or say, this is the time to do so. Otherwise, I believe we've given the listeners something to work with, something to analyze, something that there's a lot of angles where they can start improving, make a better selection process, highlight that getting a job is a job. You have to be organized. Richard's advice on Excel and all those things is super clever and super important for you to do so. I believe that's a system that I've seen a lot of people have success with. Build a rapport with your recruiters. Those are people that are here to help you, are here to succeed with you. Apply to the government. There's a lot of positions there. Maria can help you get connected with a lot of hiring managers as well. She gives out numbers. Go ahead and do that. If you're persistent, be present,
Yeah, that's what I want to work for.
Yeah, let's be persistent. We have to be present. Like Richard said, I believe there's a lot of people out there that are great qualified candidates that are in a bad scenario right now. But the reality is that means there's a lot of competition. So if you are a skillsful candidate in whatever it is that you do, make sure that you highlight yourself by preparing for every single step of any interview process that you might want to have, and so that you can highlight yourself and be the one selected. Right? There's few opportunities. There's more demand. There's more offer than there is demand right now. So the only way for you to be successful is to differentiate yourself and make something different. So with that, Keen, I'd like to close. Is there any other remarks that you guys want to say? Anything else that you might want to add to before we close this session?
I just wanted to mention something really quickly. Be mindful of the time zones. So sometimes it might be Eastern time zone. I'm on Central time, and we interview for different places. So just be mindful of what the time zone of the interview that you're having, and that way you can, put a reminder, be early, just kind of like, don't be late.
Yeah, of course, that's super important. It's part of the organization that Richard was saying. We have to make sure that we know what we're doing. I work with 3 countries. Chile's 2 hours before me. I have interviews at 6 a.m. because it's 8 a.m. for them. I got to make sure I know all these things on top of mind. Same thing with reporting to Brazil.
Yeah, I had an experience recently I just want to share too, because I agree 100% with Maria. Like I'm, grew up on Eastern time, working on Western time, and I was working with a client that they're in Arizona, but they don't participate in daylight savings time. How would you know that? In that specific county doesn't participate.
It has to be right under their name. My name is Gian Piero Ragonesi, and I don't do daylight savings.
do your research. You don't underestimate that. I think it's a great point, Maria. And you could do everything right, but then you got that wrong, and it's a tough market out there for everyone. I'd say that even if you get a rejection letter right now, wear it as a badge of honor because they actually read your resume. Just and keep applying until you get something that works for you and the recruiter. These are difficult times, but just keep applying.
Yeah, keep being persistent, stay positive. Like Lisa said, it's good for you to take your breaks and do everything, but don't stop.
Yes.
There is something out there for you. You are part of a great networking apprentice for you. We're here to help you. Of course, reach out to all of us that we can be of assistance with anything that you might need. We're in different sectors, different countries, different areas, and here to help. So if there's nothing else that we might want to add to this, I think we're good to go. Hernan, thank you guys, everybody, for participating, for being here, to helping us help other people and help ourselves as well. And I think that's it on my side.
Yeah, well, great job, by the way. So this recording will be available in the next 24 hours. So I'll share with you guys. Most importantly is, Apprentice Worldwide is a career development network, right? So we are a network. This is not, these are not only speakers at an event, but they're mentors and they're associates of the organization, and they support the organization. So I want to thank you guys for taking up the time, not only to give a speech, but also to behind the scenes talk to the people that are here, because this is what we do to give back to the community, right? We appreciate things that were done for us in the past, and now is our time to give. And these 5 minutes, 30 minutes, change lives. And I like to remind people that we have the power within us to change the world, and we do it with the time that we have. Sometimes we don't have that much time. 5 minutes is enough to change a life, and that's what we do here at Apprentice. So I really appreciate it. And again, Gian Piero has other events that are happening next semester. We're gonna do a bigger and better event if we can top this. It's gonna be difficult because this is a top-notch, top quality comments, advice, and people. But again, anything that can help the next generation, that's what we do. So again, Gian Piero, excellent job. So I take my hat off for you. You did a great job, and make sure that you guys connect in LinkedIn, right? And if you have any questions, please shoot me a LinkedIn message or text me. or whatever you want. Okay. And the Jeanette, for the first event that you participate, welcome. Again, this is
Thank you for having me.
this in the past. Richard, Michelle, Lisa, and Maria even participate in activities together. But you're more than welcome to attend any of these. So the next one is going to be the marketing and social media, digital media global industry group that are having the event on the 17th, and then the wealth management and investments global industry group, which is having their event on the 19th. So we keep going, so you're all the welcome to attend. Questions, cheap shots? Marco, by the way, I didn't want to forget. So Marco Montero, he's in Costa Rica. He's been quiet, but he's a senior banker, has been in banking for more than 30 years. And he has been a hiring manager dealing with the HR teams and the recruiters, right? Marco, so I want to acknowledge you. Saluda a tu gente.
It's great for me to stay in this chat. Saludos a todos.
Gracias, Marco.
So he's a great mentor for us in Costa Rica.
My English is not good.
It's not very good looking. It's okay. Okay, guys. Maria, I will send you the time zone way in advance. Richard, I know it's still daytime for you. Lisa, I'll have your bottle of wine in the next week or so. Jeanette, you owe me. I have to see you in person. I know you're busy as a new mom, but I wish you the best. And then Michelle left, but we're gonna hang out in the next couple of weeks. Gian Piero, I miss you. We want you here in Miami, so whenever you come, knock on our doors. And Maria is in Tennessee. She's having fun over there in Tennessee, looking at mountains while we look at flatlands and beach. But I'm glad to have you all. Okay. Richard sees everything. Richard sees mountains and beaches and everything. Oh yeah, I miss you. When are you coming? I have your Cuban coffee here for you.
I miss croquetas and Cuban coffee so bad. So you don't even know. But I don't know if it'll be this December because of pandemic. But soon
well,
enough.
I know you have a salsa club over there. I know that.
Well, right now they're socially distanced, so it's tough. It's tough even for salsa.
I know it's gonna be salsa soon. It's okay. I know some people here that do Zumba online. I haven't tried it yet.
It's salsa en la casa, is what it is. It's not.
Vicious coming Costa Rica.
I know.
No hay distanciamiento social.
Socially distanced to the max.
Awesome.
Bueno, guys, good job. Jeanette.
All right, we gotta get going. Thank you again, guys, for everything.
Bye, guys.
Pleasure meeting you all. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.